Coming to you from Milwaukee, Wisconsin by way of Stone Mountain, Georgia, birthed by the great state of South Carolina, is the Bryant Land Country Podcast. Your place for any and everything in hunting, fishing, sports, and outdoor related, with heavy doses of randomness, guests, and an all-around good time. Here's your host, proud Gamecock, South Carolina forever, AB3.
You know, from time to time, I like to try to use new technology. I like to try to, I'm always changing up stuff, whether it's, changing out microphones, changing out way to record stuff, using different cameras. I'm pretty much a technology kind of freak, if you will, when it comes to stuff like that. I tried a wireless microphone to set up, this recording, and it didn't work. It was too echoey. The wireless mic comes in great when, I'm out in the field and when I'm recording stuff, making the various Brundtland videos, which you can check out on our website, brightlandcountry.com, by the way, quick plug. But yeah, the wireless mic came in good for stuff like that. For stuff like this, trying to record a podcast, not so much. So I'm back on the hardwired line mic. Why do you care about that, you may ask? Because I want to tell you, and I wanted you to know that I'm going to use the best tools that I can get my hands on to give you guys great content. Anyway, welcome to another episode of the Brundtland Country Podcast. I am your host, AB3. Thank you again for taking the time to download our podcast wherever you may get your podcast from: Google Play, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, hosted by Podbean. Maybe you get it on the Podbean app. Either way, we thank you for downloading it. The guest this week, not going to waste any time, going to get right to it. You guys seem to like it that way. The guest this week is one Adam Edwards. Great time, kind of a spur of the moment conversation with Adam. First of all, anytime you got a guy that's named Adam, he's already, one step in the right direction. But Adam is a pretty cool guy. He's out here trying to help new hunters. He does a live chat every Monday night on Instagram. I've checked it out a couple of times. He answers questions, things to kind of get new hunters going in the right direction. And also it's just a good time if you're already out here, hunting and trying to get things done out here in the woods. So yeah, Adam, like I said, Adam Edwards, he's sat down, talked to me last week. We had a great conversation, and here is my interview with Mr. Adam Edwards on the Brundtland Country Podcast. From one Adam to another Adam, Adam Edwards, welcome to the Brundtland Country Podcast. How you doing, man?
I'm doing well, man. Doing well. How are you?
And I'm doing okay. I'm sitting here getting ready to record another podcast. This will be number 2 for the day. So I had some time off from work, so I like to try to get in and get my guest and get these podcasts recorded so I can keep shipping them out for my listeners. So thank you for joining me.
Absolutely, not a problem. As you can probably tell in the voice, a little under the weather, but I definitely am excited and looking forward to chit-chatting, man.
Man, trust me, I understand the under the weather thing. I was out probably a couple weeks ago in the beginning of the Georgia turkey season, and I talked about it on one of my other podcasts. Man, the pollen literally whooped my behind. Like, I had Zyrtec, I had all kind of stuff just to try to make sure I can get through that hunt, because every blind had 3 inches of pollen on it. You're walking through the woods, man. It's horrible. It's horrible, and it seems like no matter the amount of Zyrtec you take, man, that pollen seems to always find a way to win.
No, it's a beast that'll never be beaten, I'm afraid. I don't know what kind of mixture they can come up with, but I think that's one thing that we're always going to have to fight.
Man, and then people laughed at me when I said, I was like, yo, make sure you take, your Zyrtec or whatever. If you got, bad allergies or whatnot. And I mean, I don't want this to be a promo for Zyrtec. I mean, you could take the Kroger brand for all I care.
Yeah,
but what I'm saying is take something, because you sitting in a blind and you get that boss gobbler come through and you hit one of them at yous, he's going to be gone.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, this past weekend when I did a little hunting, it was, the pollen was awful. We had rains off and on. So, of course, all that just gets spurred up every now and then. And it was brutal. It was absolutely brutal. You'd wake up, you'd have to cough a few good times just to get some breaths out in the morning, for sure.
Now, you talk about being out in turkey hunting this past weekend. Where are you located? Are you right on the Tennessee-Kentucky line, or where are you?
So I reside in Nashville, and I hunt a little northwest of that, outside of a place called Charlotte, Tennessee. A lot of people may be obviously more familiar with Nashville, but just a little west, about 30, 45 minutes, is a city called Dixon, and it's north of that about 20 minutes. Okay,
gotcha. Yeah. Now, is that where your parents still are? Is that like a family farm, or just some land you guys got down there?
It's some family. It's friendly farm. My mom's actually engaged to the guy who owns the place, but he's been gracious enough the last 3 to 4 years to just kind of let me, do my thing. It kind of loads into the hunting background part. I mean, I've been, hunting for a long time, and he's just been super gracious on allowing me to come down there and kind of do what I want, to be pretty honest.
Man, that's cool. That's real cool. Now, to get back to that, where did you learn to hunt? How did you get into it? Was it a family thing? Like, did somebody drag you out in the woods when you're diapers, or, how did it go down for you?
Yeah, absolutely. Both sides of the family. My mom, her whole family is from here in Tennessee, and they all hunted. We got family land down a little farther past Dixon. It's been the family for generations, and so of course they grew up hunting on their farm and stuff. And then also my father got into hunting when he was a young kid. His parents didn't do much hunting. They were preachers and traveling and preaching and spreading God's word and everything. And Dad got into hunting from a friend, but Granddad also did a little bit of hunting as well. But for me in general, I got mine mainly from my dad. I mean, first time in the woods, first 100 times in the woods, I guess, was with my dad. He's definitely who I learned, I would say probably 90% of anything I know that I've learned from people would be from him, for sure.
Wow. Okay. Now, and do you have a little one yourself that you're taking out, or is it still just you?
Still just me. I thank goodness, I have to say, as of right now, I don't. That's not something I need in my life quite yet, man. Don't put that on me.
Well, I was watching one of your stories, getting ready for this interview, and I believe it was your stepdad that was cooking up the turkey from I think it was Saturday that you you killed the bird, and that turkey looked real good. And then I heard you say, you bringing some home, and you're like, give some to my girl. And I was like, okay, so he's got the family thing going, but I didn't know how big the family was. So
yeah, no, I mean, I definitely took some of it home to my lady, of course. Lynn, I got her some of it, and then of course brought some home to Mama as well. That bird was 7 hours from being taken and to being in my belly. So that was it was definitely a very fresh bird.
I was about to say it don't get much fresher than that. Now let's talk about that specific bird, because like I said, I was watching you on your Instagram and watching your stories. 16 hours.
Oh yeah, and that's not even including the weekend prior, which was opening weekend, which I unfortunately was unable to take one. But of course, hunting world is pretty much every hunter knows. I mean, the real beauty of it is just kind of being able to be out there, just kind of be in the woods, being with nature and everything. That's the real gift of it. But of course, being successful also is the icing on the cake. But in the woods, when I get my weekends, I have a job 9 to 5 during the week. So during the weekends, I'm truly in the woods, basically from 5 a.m. till dark. Whether I'm successful or not, I still like to get out there and just be out there. I take a couple of spare batteries that I actually got from my company to plug in for my cell phone when it starts to die. So I mean, I'll truly spend 12 to 15 hours a day in the woods if I can.
Wow. I mean, that's die hard. That is die hard right there.
Yeah.
But, if you're at home in the woods, then you're at home in the woods, man.
Yeah.
You can't fault that.
Yeah, and I mean, I will say it is a little easier on certain farms, of course, because, I have better cell phone reception. So, I'm able to add to my story or, post or at least, follow along with other people on certain farms. Other ones, the service isn't the greatest, obviously. Sometimes after 6 or 8 hours, it gets a little tiring. You want to see something else other than the tree next to you. But yeah, it's just a blast, man. I mean, my biggest way of hunting is all about, I like kind of being on the ground, being eye level with them. I'm a big bow hunter. I know Urban Archery, you've been with him, chatted with him lately. I like kind of like a more of a fair game situation. I know that the odds are obviously stacked against the animal regardless, but that to me, that little you just get a little more personal when it comes to the woods, when it comes to the animal and just the sport of it. So yeah, a little bit of info right there.
So let me hit you with this. So are you saying you mostly like ground blind, even with deer and with turkeys?
Yeah, I mean, turkey-wise, we'll go turkey-wise first. I'm much more just myself. I've got the Old Tom, shout out Old Tom Mossio guys, of course. I've got their gear, and the Old Tom pants have spots, for your box calls and mouth calls and everything. So turkey hunting's a lot more about being able to be mobile. Unless you're hunting with a bow and stuff, it's a lot harder, obviously, to draw with a bow and do all that while turkey's looking at you. But when you're hunting with a gun, it's a lot of times in turkey hunts you're going to be moving.
Right.
So ground blinds are tough, but, as us guys, we got to record, we got to get content, right? So we it's a lot easier in a ground blind to have, 1 or 2 cameras so that you can video the whole hunt, all X, Y, Z.
Definitely.
But deer-wise, it's a lot more about being in a deer stand for me, to be honest, especially with a bow again. But with a gun, I still do some moving. I'm a big stalking guy. I like to, I'll go 30, 40 yards in the woods and I'll sit for 5-10 minutes or stand next to the tree 5-10 minutes. And then I'll move another 50 yards, So that's kind of the way that I like to hunt when I have the woods to myself.
Yeah, you take you take the fight to the animal, huh?
Yeah. I've had success both ways. Killed big deer, big turkeys both ways. So I don't think there's the right or wrong way, but I definitely am one to where I like to be kind of there, truly with the animal when things are happening.
Most definitely. Now, let's circle back real quick, back to the turkey that you killed this weekend, the 16-hour turkey, as I like to refer to it as. Was that a particular bird that you had been stalking for, a while? Like, did you have him on camera? Like, was that a target bird, or you were just going out and he just happened to fall up short that day?
I'm going to say he became a target bird. We had 2 birds on this property that we know of, and they're still there. One we call paintbrush, which everybody knows what paintbrush means when it comes to a gobbler, big old wide beard. And then one is, we call him footlong, and we think he's got a 12 or 13-inch beard, pretty skinny. But so those were more the target gobblers, but the one that I got also was one that spotted me last weekend. So it was kind of a revenge scenario. He had 2 hens with him. He came out, strutting. He was spitting the whole time. I got a little bit of video that I'll eventually get up of him coming in and strutting and everything. So he got a little distracted by the ladies, and he paid the price.
Nice. I mean, you see people all the time, and they've got, especially more so with deer than turkeys, they have like a hit list buck, or, this buck has a name or whatnot. I know last year when I finally got my first bird, man, and there were 4 of them. And none of them, the name of them was, in my mind, first one to hit the ground. That's what
That's exactly right. That's exactly right.
I mean, but, in your situation, just to kind of have a bird just kind of mess with you a little bit, I haven't had that experience yet, but I've heard the stories and talked to a few people, you get birds that's kind of messing with you. I talked to a guy last week, and he was telling me how he was out one day and he could hear the bird, he could see the bird, and then 10 minutes later, the bird had already moved and was behind him, double gobbling and cutting him off.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, And those are the things, for people that haven't even been on a turkey hunt yet or looking forward to going turkey hunting. Man, the first time you hear one of them birds hit that gobble, it's a wrap. You're hooked. As far as I'm concerned, you're hooked.
it is a completely different sound. And it's kind of funny. I talk to these people. I talk to people at work all the time. And, if I don't come, back with an animal, they're like, oh, why didn't you kill one? People see online, videos of turkeys walking up and, trying to fight cars and all this kind of crazy stuff. But turkeys, I tell you what, they are hard to kill. Their vision is incredible. I mean, they just have such a sense for the woods, and they can just spot things, so easily. So when you get that bird thundering up on up in a tree, it is a feeling that will truly make you shake. I mean, I legitimately get the shakes when those birds get gobbling and when they start getting close. I mean, they call buck fever. Turkey fever is the exact same.
Well, and it's funny because like I used to think the whole thunder chicken thing was just like a gimmick, like, all right, thunder chicken, yeah, okay, whatever. Man, when them birds hit the ground and they are close and they hit that gobble, you can feel it in your chest. Like you said, the shakes and stuff, you feel it right in your chest, man. It's nothing like it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's wild, man. And if you get the luxury, my buddy Clay Sweeney, who's a turkey guru, I've hunted with him for years and years when it comes to turkeys, probably the last 5 years or so, 4 or 5 years. When you can get a bird coming in that, whenever he shows, he's probably only going to be at about 30 yards. When you can hear him strutting and drumming and vibrating and gobbling and everything, I mean, the ground truly will shake. It's truly incredible. It's pretty wild that people, it's an experience that a lot of people don't get to be a part of. And it's we can sit here and talk about it. People really won't get it until you really do it. So I hope one day that everybody kind of gets that little bug and bite of how that feels and that thunder chicken coming at you. It really is pretty wild. It's wild.
Now I saw your hunt, I believe it was from this weekend, or it might have been like on your blog page, and we're gonna get into your blog here in a little bit. It was kind of unique what you were hunting out of. Were you hunting out of the bottom part of a barn?
Yeah.
Is that what I saw?
There may have been, I know probably if you were watching a little bit of video stuff, it was probably from that gobbler I took this weekend. We had Will, the landowner, back up behind his house, several hundred yards. He's got an old barn that just sits up covering this field, and it's usually what we deer hunt in. But the way the weather was, the way the wind was blowing and all that, it became to a point where, early that morning, after all the gobblers and things got quiet, I decided to move there because, just nothing was happening. And it's really hard to move on birds when you don't know where they are because their sight is so good. So a lot of the times people kind of resort to a blind for that later morning hunt because you kind of look more for a travel spot or something like that.
Right.
Yeah. So he got unlucky, man. He got unlucky. He chose wrong.
But it was just a great picture of seeing that blind, and then when this comes out, I'm gonna capture a snap of it and then put it like on Twitter and on my Instagram when this podcast comes out, because to me it was just a really unique picture. Like you could see the splits in the wood and stuff where it looks like where you were looking out at, and then you can see like the camera and see you sitting there and stuff. I thought it was a pretty cool picture. Yeah.
We've got some barns there. We have, I'd say 3 or 4 barns. They've got they've got old schoolhouses, they've got old stores and things that used to be on their property from 200 years ago, to be very honest, that are just some broken down buildings. But obviously now, we're turning tobacco barns whatever they should have been. So, we had kind of the luxury of a lot of natural stands that are there, and we've really taken advantage of it. And a lot of these birds, they're so used to them, and especially deer as well, they're so used to all those barns and houses, old houses and things that, it doesn't bother them. So it's really easy for us to get in there and slip in, kind of covers your scent as well. So really easy to get in on some animals in those places.
Nice. Especially like you said, when you get to talking about deer and scent control and stuff like that, that's, obviously top of the list of things that you want to have control over. And then to be in a place like that, I mean, that's great. That's top notch.
Yeah, 100%.
So now the way that I found you was through another guest of mine, and you spoke of him earlier, Clint Cadet from Urban Archery in up in New York City. I mean, yeah, he's a wonderful guy. I've talked to him a few times. We had a great time on the podcast, but just talking to him and his thirst for knowledge, man, to want to learn about this life and learn about bow hunting and whatnot. Yeah. My question to you, you said that, you're an avid bow hunter, but I know you do a lot with your shotgun for turkeys. What drew you to bow hunting? Was that like part of, just being out in the woods with your dad, or like what made you go the route of the bow hunt?
To be honest, I think that even with a gun, I have never killed an animal past 100 yards. So, here again, it boils down to the, me, myself as a hunter, my brain, my own intuition, my ability to use a weapon. I see it as, like I was saying earlier, the odds are automatically super stacked against the animal. So here again, I kind of like to have it more of a lot more personal, a lot more, kind of an even playing field. The weapon of a bow and arrow, you really have to have them within 50 yards. And I definitely do not have the eyeballs and eyesight and vision capable of shooting a 50-yard shot. But within 40 to 30 yards, I'm pretty deadly with a bow. So, here again at 30 and 40 yards, you got to be super still. You got to be paying attention. You really have to have your scent under control. So, that to me just kind of makes it a lot more personal, a lot more hunting, I guess, more so than shooting. That was something my dad taught me. Here we go. Here's a good answer for it.
Okay.
It's, in my opinion and from my dad, it is called hunting, not shooting. I think that, so for me, it's definitely a lot more get them close, give them the opportunity, and hunt them, don't shoot them, if that makes sense.
No, that makes total sense. When I first started, I heard it as it's hunting, not killing.
Yeah.
So
perfect.
Yeah, definitely along the same lines. And, I've said it, a few times on this podcast. I love bow hunting. I mean, I've tried, or I will try this year to take a turkey with a shotgun, but outside of ducks and geese, I go after everything with a bow. Deer, hogs, turkeys, get me in a blind,
love it,
brush me up real good.
Absolutely.
And let me try to get, that animal within, 15, 20, 25 yards or whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, to me, that's where the fun is.
Yeah.
That's where it's at.
I think that, everyone, I have no problem with someone who wants to go out and do, the 500-yard stuff, but I just think that there's truly something special about being able to get an animal close. Like even, you walk into state parks and, the animals know people and it's no big deal, but, they still don't get that close. And in the wild, I mean, people just really don't realize how skittish those animals are that are in the wild. I mean, as soon as they see you, they're gone. As soon as they smell you, they're gone. That's what people, they really don't get truly how hard it is, as being a bow hunter, how hard it is to get those, whether it's a bird or a deer within 30 yards, it's tough. It's really tough.
Yeah, especially, even with turkey, like, and I tell people that I shot a turkey last year with a bow, it's like a different light.
Oh, yeah.
It's like before, it's just like, I've been hunting for about 4 years, I've been doing it with my bow mostly, and then, I goose hunt and duck hunt with a shotgun, and it's just like, okay, yeah, whatever, welcome, newbie. And then it's just like, well, I did kill a turkey with my bow, and then it's just like, oh, okay. Now I instantly become somebody in the eyes of the 30, 40 year veteran hunter. But before that, it's just like, oh, all right, welcome to the sport. Have a good time.
Yeah, I mean, it's truly though. It really is. I mean, because in the reality, this is in my opinion just facts. I mean, you can take a very amateur, very elementary, whether it be a hunter or someone who's not even into hunting, and put them on a rifle and they're able to, harvest whatever animal they want, in my opinion. Really, you just say, hey, this is dialed in at 100, put that deer at 100 yards and just squeeze this trigger. If they don't have that excitement and everything, but try to put them on a bow at 30 yards. You know what I mean? It's completely different. There's no chance they're going to be able to even touch the target or the animal or whatever it is at 30 with a bow in comparison to, even if it's at 100 with a rifle. I think that it's pretty difficult to be killing animals with a bow. So that's why it's such a respectful view from hunters to be able to take, animals with a bow.
And see, I think I kind of screwed myself because, with my bow, it's a lot easier for me to practice. Like I can, practice even if I'm in my apartment, 10, 15 yards down the hallway, get a couple shots or whatever.
Right.
Man, with a shotgun, trying to shoot a turkey with a shotgun, it was just like, I don't know what I did wrong, but it didn't work.
Yeah.
to say the least. And it seems like it's more difficult and more to think about. I don't know, maybe it's just, my experience coming, from one to the other, and, some people do it seamlessly, but yeah, it seemed like it was more difficult, trying to go from a bow and then trying to kill one with a shotgun. But
yeah, well, shotguns in general are a lot harder. Coming from someone who's shot guns for 25 plus years of my life, shotguns in general are a lot harder to shoot than people realize as well. It's not just point and shoot. It's a lot more difficult to put that bead right on top of the barrel, and have it lined up and put it right where it's supposed to be on that bird's neck or whatever it may be. So, it's definitely more difficult than people realize for sure.
Yeah, and I've always heard, you aim a rifle, you point a shotgun. So it's just like it gives you a false sense of security, because it's like, all right, well, 100%. If you pointed at it, you're going to be okay. But
100% doesn't work that way.
Right. So let me ask you this, because I went to your blog site, and I looked at a couple of your blog posts, and you are a really good writer. You're way better at writing than I could ever hope to be. I go back to high school, and, I took AP English and college prep English and all that good stuff. And every paper I ever wrote, it came back with the same thing on every paper, COLLQ, colloquial, because I write the way that I talk, even when I was in high school. You, however, seem to have mastered the writing thing and have a great blog. Where did your love of writing come from?
That's actually pretty funny. Well, I would say that, to be very honest, when I was younger, even in college, I constantly had teachers telling me, "Dude, your grammar is awful," and so that was always my truly, no joke. I had that said to me a time or two, and so that was my demise back in the day. People were always saying, my teachers always say, "No, truly, you have a great story," or what was written was great, but the grammar was awful. So I think that in my mind, I still said, well, if I can still write a good story, and if people are, interested in hearing, a quick little hunt story or whatever, then it doesn't take me too long to put a story together. I think that, I always love hearing stories from my friends or whatever it may be about their hunts. So, whenever I came across a short little 10-paragraph article that, I could get read in 5 minutes, I liked reading on it. So I figured, why not? But I got motivated a long time ago by a buddy, Jason Wall, and I'll give him a little quick shout out at Print That Thing. He does, he's not into hunting. He's never hunted any of that kind of stuff, but he has his own, he does 3D printing, he does graphic design, he does all this kind of stuff. And, one day we were down at the farm, and we were just truly hanging out. I was just showing him, where I hunt and everything. And it's like, yeah, I'd love to, be a professional hunter one day. That's always the goal, right? To be a professional hunter. And,
right.
And he said, well, what's stopping you? And I said, well, I don't know. I guess I haven't really, thought about it, whatever that may be. And he said, well, dude, just do it. And truly that was what he said, why not? And so I got to a point where, I did a couple blog posts, and then, I went didn't really do much at all for a long time. My granddad got real sick. He passed away not too long ago. And so, I really didn't get back into it. But here recently, I kind of got to the point where I said, here in 30 years, when I'm unable to get going on something like this, would I regret not just legitimately sitting here, on an afternoon like this, 7 o'clock, getting on the phone and just talking hunting? That's something that back 2 years ago, before Jay Wall had asked that, I wouldn't be doing. So now I would say, that was kind of a big inspiration for kind of in general when it comes to the writing, the blogging, and everything. He really kind of helped set me in the mode of like, dude, just do it. You can truly do the whole thing from your phone. Smartphones these days are pretty incredible. Being able to do that, he was a huge inspiration. My family was huge. My mom, and Will, obviously being a landowner, my mom was all about it. And, like I said, my lady earlier, when I take her some turkey, to be very honest, she has no idea what hunting's all about. She has no clue what the outdoors is when it comes to hunting. But she's a very motivated individual, and she is extremely interested in what it all is, and she wants to learn. So for me, I just take the ideas or the questions that she has and kind of turn them into something. So I kind of have the luxury of being able to, be around someone that doesn't and is not educated in the outdoors. So, that kind of just gives me a way to be able to feed into, what I'm doing. So, but yeah, I just thought that, the things that have happened to me in the woods over the last 20 years, a lot of crazy things have happened. And, I just wanted to share them. I wanted to inspire people, educate and motivate, kind of with, like you said, with Urban Archery over there. He's now getting into the, bow hunting world. He's really trying to get into hunting and everything. And, he'll hop on and ask me questions. That's what I'm hoping to do with all this is, to truly motivate, educate, inform, and, get people motivated to do the hunting thing.
No, and it's important to have that because of people like Cliff. A lot of times you'll go and you'll look for, a place to ask a question, or you don't have a resource. Like a lot of us, we don't have, a buddy or, a grandfather or a father or somebody, a hunting mentor. If you're just coming to the sport new, just because it's, something that you want to try or whatever. I mean, like for me, I came to the sport because, I grew up on a dirt road in South Carolina. I grew up in the country, but I never really hunted. I played outside and I saw deer and you see wild turkeys and stuff. And God knows you see plenty of snakes. But, it was not something that, my family was into. And then when I got older and, was looking for more stuff to do besides play video games, I picked up a bow, I got an ATV, and I started hunting because I knew I wasn't going to go golfing because golfing was boring. My point in this entire little soliloquy is that it's great to have a resource, somebody to go to that you can ask questions to, and when you ask those questions, they don't turn around and make you feel like an idiot for asking them. So thank you.
Absolutely. I mean, I'll do my own little promo here. Every Monday, 8 p.m. This is why we didn't, chit chat yesterday. I do an Instagram live where, I love to, kind of update on, what happened over the weekend. Obviously I was able to kill 2 birds, one Sunday and Monday morning. Kind of do a little highlight, the story of how it happened, what was successful, kind of go over, maybe what Mossy Oak may be doing or whatever situation may be. But to be honest, the biggest reason why I'm doing that Q&A, or not Q&A, but the Instagram live on that hour on a Monday is just say, hey, if you got questions, if you're new into hunting, or if you want to be inspired, or like I said, educated on, what's going on, or need just a simple question asked, it's a perfect time for, just that informal conversation, just to, learn a little bit more about what you have questions on.
Right. And I too, like I said, I checked it out a little bit yesterday, and I mean, I love it. I think it's a great thing because you got people on there, obviously that's been following you along, but if you want to go and then you just have a question answered, or get a question answered, I should say, I mean, it's a perfect forum. I mean, it was a great idea by you, and kudos to you for being able to do an hour, because as a person who comes from, a television background, mostly sports television, to be able to do anything for an hour that is not like a game or, a sporting event, to be able to do one solid hour live with no commercials, man, kudos to you.
Yeah, I appreciate it, man. I tell you what, I've talked to people at work about this before. I truly could go for hours when it comes to hunting in the outdoors. So I mean, it's something that I in no way mind doing. Obviously commercials are always fun and help out when it comes to a little bit of little passive income, that kind of stuff. But I'm really hoping to truly make it something where it's a a true hour of just that conversation. I've got 4 to 5 guys that I personally know that usually hop on, and I haven't met some of them ever before, but it's guys I've met via Instagram, on that Instagram live, and also guys that are friends, and they'll hang out for that whole hour, and they'll also provide that input. Lynn sometimes will hop on, and then she'll ask questions because in the moment, like I said, she doesn't know really anything about the outdoors or hunting. So, she's able to provide, good questions and ongoing conversation. And really cool when you get, at some points we'll get 20 to 30 people on there. And, we just fire back comments and ideas and questions and stuff. And it's just a really awesome thing to see when you have that many people together talking specific about hunting. I mean, I've written a quick little article about it not too long, or I don't know how long ago it was, a few months. just about hunting community in general. And it's pretty incredible what it is. Hunting community is an awesome thing to see.
No, and I mean, anytime that you can bring people together and, and that's one of the great things that I'm starting to learn more and more about and starting to enjoy about hunting, because I mean, I pretty much stick to myself. I'm not anti, well, I guess I am kind of antisocial, but I'd like to do things. I had to think about it for a minute. It's like, there's no need to lie. Yeah, I am a little antisocial, but one thing about hunting, and I can say, going on the hunt, different hunts that I've been on, especially on my waterfowl hunts, you meet so many just cool people, and then you start talking about, a lot of the things, and you got like a lot in common, especially when it comes to the hunting and stuff, man, and it's just fun. You meet a lot of really good people.
Yeah, I mean, and I think that the best part about hunting and the outdoors, and even fishing, of course, you really have every story is unique. Every hunting adventure that someone goes on, even if it's just you got out of the car and you got lucky and stumbled upon that deer as soon as you closed the door, how many people do you know that have actually killed big deer that stumbled out of it when they walked out of the door of their truck? You know what I mean? Like, that's still a unique story that you haven't heard very often or ever. And I think that's just what also brings, outdoorsmen together, is that, that bond of knowing that there's always a story to tell behind every, mounted animal that's on a wall. And that's what, I hope that people outside of the outdoors industry and hunting industry can see, just because we have an animal on the wall, we're not trying to be cruel or anything, like you said earlier, you kind of like being yourself. I mean, being in the outdoors by yourself is that perfect spot. Being able to take an animal like that is satisfaction, but it's also providing for more than just that. You're bringing people together, you're providing for families if it comes to food, whether it's your own or whether it's others. The money that goes into, your license goes back to being able to feed these animals in general. So there's a lot more that goes into hunting, and being on your own, especially, out in the woods, is kind of fun to be able to sit there and really think about, everything that goes into, that harvest or that hunt.
And plus just the things that you get to see when you're out there. I mean, when you're just sitting out there in the woods, man, it's free and clear. But I'm going to jump off track a little bit because actually it's because I'm a little pissed off. I got one of my trail cameras, my cell cameras, and I put up one of those feeders. I got it off of the ground. It's a gravity feeder, and I got it up pretty high, and I just got a picture, and it's a daggum raccoon, and he has figured his way out to get inside of, like, I'm going to send you this picture when we get off here, and I'm going to post it. Actually, I'm going to post it in my story.
Not for you, that's awesome.
When we get off here. But, yeah, and he's hanging on for dear life, man. And, I don't know if you were a big, Duck Dynasty guy or used to watch, Duck Dynasty or whatever, but Phil had a ongoing personal battle with beavers. And I feel like that's what it's going to be this year with me and these freaking raccoons, man, because I had turkeys on my camera in November of 18, and now for this season I have not seen one turkey, and I am convinced it's because these suckers have pretty much ravaged every nest and drove all the turkeys off the property. So and it's getting on my nerves because I intentionally put this feeder up like the way that I have it so they couldn't get to it, and I'd be doggone if the little sucker isn't already hanging on it. Do you have a lot of raccoon problems down there?
I mean, we definitely have raccoons. I mean, we're big on, we do a lot of food plots out here. During the, of course, we put out some minerals and all that kind of stuff, but we're pretty good at shooting, well, I guess technically we can't shoot some of them, certain animals and stuff during seasons and stuff, but when the seasons and all that kind of stuff end, we're pretty good at taking out the needed numbers to kind of thin out some of that stuff. Will and I, we're pretty good about walking the farm, and his sons as well, checking out the farm and looking for things like that. So we haven't had many issues. I mean, his farms, to be very honest, are the luxury that I have over there. I mean, he's got great animals. He's had the availability to put a lot of food plots in and a lot of crops in just in general. But yes, I mean, to the people that have those issues with rodents and, raccoon, I call them rodents because, I mean, they're pretty much just like a big old tree rat almost. But
exactly.
But, I mean, it's more about trapping. I don't, some people love doing that late night raccoon hunting. I've never done it. but could be something to look into in the future.
I haven't either, and I'm definitely thinking about it, just doing like night scopes or whatever, and just going out and just taking as many out as I can, or like you said, just trapping them and stuff. I mean, Jesus, man, it's. And then now, and this, you may know this, but it was a surprise to me during the off season. I feed, like you say, you do mineral, and then I feed, protein, try to give something better than just, plain old corn or whatever.
Right.
And the suckers are in the protein. I'm like, well, you guys don't even like the protein. Like, that's why I got protein. So it would just be for the deer. I'm not trying to grow raccoons. I'm trying to grow deer.
Those raccoons, man, they'll eat cardboard. They'll eat anything. They're kind of like goats and sheep. I mean, they just kind of eat whatever in front of their face. To be honest, they're not. They're just gross. I mean, they're just kind of like I said, tree rodents. They're tree rats.
Now, speaking of tree rats, have you had the raccoon or the squirrel?
As in to eat or hunt?
Yeah, like have you cooked them up?
I have never cooked raccoon. Do people eat raccoons? But I have done the squirrel thing a few times.
Yes, people do cook the raccoon. I hear allegedly it's really good with sweet potatoes. I don't know firsthand. I doubt if I will ever know firsthand.
I don't know.
And I've never eaten squirrel. I've never eaten squirrel for the distinct reason of, like you said, I call them tree rats, and they seem to be very prominent when I'm hunting deer.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, they when it starts getting colder, they definitely get out a lot more, and they get hungry and they get more aggressive, kind of like squirrels when it comes to eating your corn and all that. And they push squirrels out. They'll push everything out. They're kind of they're just mean, man. They're mean.
Well, we're gonna start a little war with the raccoons because I'm tired of this. All right, let's get back to what we were talking about, because we were talking about your blog. And then your writing and stuff. Where did you go to college at, by the way?
I went to college out in Arkansas, a school called Harding University. It's a little private Christian college out there.
Okay.
I played tennis for 4 years. Granddaddy went there, so had the luxury of going out there for 4 years.
I saw that you on your bio that you had tennis. It's like one of those, like, you're reading stuff and it's like the old, like, one of these things don't belong. And I saw, tennis, like with all, Mossy Oak Pro Staff, Tacticams, like tennis players. Like, wait a minute, so is it because of your grandfather, because of the tennis, and is there anything that you bought from tennis that has helped you as a hunter?
100% from the grandfather. He started that lineage. He was probably, late 20s, early 30s maybe when he got going. And he played, the rest of his life. He actually had this is not how he passed away, but he actually had a heart attack on the tennis court when he was in his 60s and got life-flighted to Vanderbilt, and he still had a tennis ball in his pocket when they got him to the hospital. So
wow.
That kind of tells you the family history of tennis with us. But my dad played at Lipscomb. My sister played, my aunt played, my mom's played. So it's kind of a family thing, but also, Granddaddy started that lineage for sure. I guess when it comes to hunting, the number one key, and a lot of things I tell people when it comes to hunting is, number one, obviously enjoy the moment, right? Whether you're successful or not, enjoy the moment. But I think patience is the biggest key. Like this weekend, 15, 16 plus hours in the woods just in a day in the morning, plus the whole weekend before, 20 something plus hours. You really, really have to be patient when it comes to hunting, because you just never know when that gobbler or when that, big buck or whatever it is may show up. And in tennis, the match doesn't last 1 point. Tennis matches, can last for hours, sets, games, everything. So, you really have to have that patience, to be successful in tennis, but you also have to know when to make your move. So I think that being able to differentiate between those two decisions are big when it comes to tennis, but also when it comes to hunting as well. Definitely.
It's funny how many things that you can take away from hunting as well. And the one that always sticks out to me is patience. I had this conversation with another guest. I wish that I could have the level of patience that I have in a deer stand, a turkey blind, in a blind waiting for hogs, duck hunting. I wish I could have that level of patience in everyday life. It's funny how when you're out there, it's just like you almost don't have a care in the world, and you're patient and you're waiting for that animal, you're waiting for that perfect shot. I got to work on transferring that patience back into my everyday life.
Yeah, it's tough, man. I mean, it's just different. Whether you're having to hold your bow for an extra 10 seconds, or whether you're having to sit in your blind for an extra hour, or, whether it comes to work, whether a deal doesn't go through and you got to, have that patience to not be frustrated. There's just a lot of things that can be translated and going back and forth. I'm a pretty laid back dude. I really think that I get a lot of that from hunting and being in the outdoors. Just being able to relax and understand, life is what it is, and but you just have to understand that there's bigger things out there that will require you to be upset or whatever it may be down the road. But the everyday things that shouldn't matter as much, and I think that hunting really taught patience, because as you know, when you mess up in the woods, you've never been more frustrated in your life when that big deer or that big gobbler sees you, walks away, or if you miss, you're frustrated. So learning that skill of patience has been a huge factor when it comes to hunting outdoors and, back to tennis and everything else.
And it's also funny that you mentioned that, because what I do, for work every day, is live television, live sporting events, and there's a certain amount of pressure and aggravation that comes with producing a live or directing a live sporting event. And sometimes we do it, 3-4 times a week. So by the time I get out in the woods, I'm looking forward to it. It's like a breath of fresh air. And it's like, I don't know so much about recharging the batteries, but, going back to how you say, that when you're at work and things, kind of go awry, to be out in the woods, sometimes it makes it all better.
Yeah.
That change of scenery.
Absolutely, man. It's to me, I truly call it my reset weekend. If I go a few weekends and not be able to be in the woods, you can ask people around me, I start to get agitated. It's definitely a way to just, truly, it's just a way, it's just a way to relax. It's a way to reset. It's a way to just kind of, really wrap your mind around things, really be able to think critically, by yourself, about things that are going on, whether it be in your life or just to completely not worry about it. So, here again, we were talking about earlier, I hope people get to understand what it's like for a gobbler to be gobbling right behind you and you can't see him. That's also just in general. I hope that, everyone one day gets the opportunity to just be in the woods, whether they're hunting or not, sitting in a place in the woods to where you don't have cell phone service, where you can't hear cars honking, to where you don't have a laptop sitting in front of your face. I hope that everyone one day will get the opportunity to understand what that feels like.
Yeah, because it definitely, like you said, it's a reset. It's a tranquility that is hard to match anywhere else. As a matter of fact, I don't really think you can match it, anywhere else. Even if you turn off all the lights and close the doors and turn off, all the TVs and stuff, there's nothing like being in the woods. I would also say there's nothing like being in a quiet woods and then having something come along and make noise and scare all the hell out of you, whether it's a gobbler or whether it's a deer blowing and snorting and stomping at you because she knows you're there. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think that, I get a lot of this again from, of course, my background is Christianity, and, I'm a firm believer, my granddaddy was big on it. And he was truly the one that always said, being in the woods and enjoying just God's creation is what really matters. I'm in zero way of one that tries to push religion on any human, because I just don't, it's not my place. I think everyone should be educated on what they should be educated on. But, for me as a believer, and, it's just a place, like you said, to be tranquil. You get your time to be able to reflect, on situations that have happened in your life or whatever it may be. So, but, so like you said, sometimes when you're in that moment, then all of a sudden you get that gobbler or that buck screaming at you, it'll wake you up real quick. That's for sure.
Yeah, well, it'll put you on high alert. And And then it's funny, the other thing that you said too, you know, like you said, if you go a few weeks and not be able to be out in the woods or whatever, you know, you get a little agitated, you know, you get a little itchy.
Yeah.
Do you waterfowl hunt any? Like, do you duck hunt or goose hunt any?
I have never done it. Now, one of Will's sons, Garrett, is actually huge on doing that. He's gotten really into it in the last probably year and a half or so. You know, even going to school out in Arkansas, I never had the opportunity to do it. Never got into it.
I got you. And the reason why I asked you that is because from about the third week in January till about late March, I am going crazy. Because there's nothing to hunt. You know, I guess you could do conservation, you know, snow goose and stuff like that. It's not something that I really, you know, ever wanted to do. I kind of feel like, you know, at the end of January when duck season and goose season's over, it's like, all right, the season's over. It's almost like fall baseball or spring football, you know, going waterfowl hunting during that time period. But so from like late January till about the end of March, it's like, okay, is there a hog or something I can go shoot with my bow? Like, I need to go hog hunting or something, because if I don't get, and I didn't this year, usually, you know, I find a way to squeeze in a hog hunt or something, but I didn't this year. And like when I finally got to go turkey hunting at the end of March down there in Georgia, it was just like I was geeked up, like I was a little kid in a candy store. I mean, it's just like I had been released, like they told me, you know, they kicked me in my behind and said go outside, and I just, you know, went crazy. I mean, it's bananas.
It's true. I mean, hunting deer season here ends late January, mid-January, and, you know, like you said, turkey season here won't start up till it got kicked up the last weekend of March and goes till mid-May, and then we've got nothing pretty much other than, I don't even know when squirrel season comes in, but, you know, I'll do a little fishing during the summer and stuff, but then you've got dove season, then you got deer season. So, you know, we've got 5 to 6 months, 4 to 5 months, I guess, in here where, you know, I'll be feeling the same. I'll definitely be feeling the same. Hopefully I'll be on the tractor and putting food plots in and all that, so hopefully I can get my weekend dose in every now and then.
Yeah, no, I do it, and I like to get on my ATV. I love riding ATVs. My kid's been fussing at me about us going fishing more in the summer, because what ends up happening is I'll say, you know, let's go to the property and ride ATVs. Right. And what ends up happening is we ride ATVs, but we're also checking trail cameras. So
you got to.
So there, you know, my son and my daughter have been fussing at me, you know, we don't fish as much as we used to. And it's because after I bought my property, it's like I want to be on my land as much as possible. But, you know, that's definitely something I got to get back into. Now, the last thing before I get you out of here, you mentioned before, like with your live videos and then your blog and, you know, the content that you're making, is it your ultimate goal to transition from current professional job into full-time, like outdoor living and into the outdoor industry?
I mean, I would say yes. I mean, of course, I think everybody would want to one day, you know, be a professional hunter and, you know, own being able to travel to Iowa every weekend or 4 or 5 days out of the week and all that. You know, so yeah, I mean, eventually that would be awesome. I mean, here, I know it wouldn't be anytime soon. I mean, I actually kind of like my job. I know I'm in the sales world and things are always wild in the sales world, but
I was going to ask you, what is your day job?
It's I work for a company called Syndigo. We're a software as a service company, and I'm just a sales rep, account executive for those guys.
Okay, nice.
But,
nice.
But yeah, I mean, you know, of course, the goal, right, is to be a professional hunter. I mean, I would love to, you know, be able to professionally film my hunts, and, you know, obviously professionally film others as well. You know, I'm not egotistical enough to say that, you know, I wouldn't spend several years behind the camera, you know, for someone else to make sure that, you know, that if that's the path that needs to be taken to be, you know, to have a true career in the outdoors like that, then, you know, great. But what I'm really trying to do here again is, you know, educate, inspire, motivate. I know that, you know, that's said by everybody, but, you know, those weekly live feeds where, you know, we get that education part put in and truly showing people that the hunting's not all about the shot and, you know, the trophy and everything. I mean, there's hours and hours and hours and you know, at times can be dollars and dollars that are put into this. But, you know, the patience, the persistence and all of that, you know, in the end, just like when it comes to work or when it comes to the sport, you know, that end goal, that success or, you know, that accomplishment is what really, really you can put your pride in and be happy about.
Well, Adam, I will tell you from one Adam to another, I wish you the greatest success. And when you do make it, don't forget about the little people and the Brundtland Country podcast when you make it big and you're on the Sportsman channel.
Hey, this is my first, man. So you can't knock the first one. And like I said, my goal when it comes to educating and motivating, it really is for the little people. The ones that are already there, the ones that are known. They've got their time. I'm glad for them. But here again, kind of like with Urban Archer, he'd pop on and ask questions. That really is what the American Adventure, my brand, is really about. Is that true? Whether it's uneducated or someone that's trying to get into it, or even someone that thinks they know everything. There's always something in the woods and outdoors that you can learn. So,
exactly.
It'll always be something that's meant for the little man, regardless of how big or small, I get, or the American Adventure gets, or the following gets, or whatever it may be. I just hope that people really see it as more of an educational type situation than informative.
Well, definitely, like I said, wish you the most success. And if any way that, we can help out or maybe partner up on something or whatever the case is, you just let me know.
Yeah.
I like what you're doing, and I think it's pretty cool.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. Like you said, we're all looking out for each other, and everybody's going to try to grow and get big. And, if everybody gets there, then I'm all right with it. So we'll take everybody and put everybody on board, and we'll make it happen.
Now, let the folks know where they can find the American Adventure, your blog, Instagram, Facebook, all that stuff. Let the people know where they can find you.
Absolutely. So blog, theamericanadventure.us. We got blogs, we got stories, we got, of course, all the fun merchandise, right? And then, of course, we got my Facebook, just Adam Edwards. That one I need to promote a little bit better. Facebook will get there. Instagram is just AdamKeith_. And here again, I love everyone coming on and hanging out. And, definitely bring your questions, bring insight, give me some advice. If you guys think something that I should do better or want to see more when I'm out in the woods and all that, I'm humble enough to take criticism and, want to grow with everybody as well.
And when does that live chat take place? Monday nights,
8 Central.
Nice.
I haven't started yet throwing anybody else on it, but probably soon enough after turkey season, we may get some people on and do some stories. May do a little duo with a podcast, something like that with you.
Sounds good, man. We'll be all ready for it. Adam Edwards, thank you for the time, man.
Absolutely, brother. I appreciate it. I love you reaching out, man. It's just something that I love to do. So thank you, brother. Brightland Podcast, you are the man. I appreciate it, brother.
Thank you. Man, I don't know about you guys, but 16 hours to kill a turkey. Whew. That is some serious dedication, some serious perseverance, all the things that my mom used to talk about as far as like with patience and everything. Man, good job for Adam to be able to have the fortitude to do that, because I don't know if your boy could do that. I'm just being honest with you. I like to get out in the woods, get out in the outdoors, but 16 hours, man, of chasing the turkey. I can't imagine the amount of gratification that he had once he, laid the smackdown on that bird. But man, shout out to him for that. And then shout out to Adam in general, man. He's a great guy. He's got some good stuff going on, out here in the outdoor world. Like I said, just out here trying to help, a lot of new hunters and just trying to help people in general, man. You got to root for guys like that. So thank you again to Adam Edwards for stopping by the Brundtland Country Podcast and hanging out with me for a little bit. Now, before I get ready to get out of here, I just want to throw a couple of things at you. BrundtlandCountry.com website has all of our previous videos and stuff. That on-demand tab, you really need to get down on that. Go check out some videos, some interviews that we've done in the past. And then also, while you're on that BrundtlandCountry.com website, man, we got some badass apparel. So make sure you check out the BrundtlandCountry.com shop. The shop tab on the BrundtlandCountry.com website. We got hats, we got t-shirts, we got leggings, we got all kind of stuff, hoodies. For those of you that are still trying to chase turkeys out in the cold, man, get you a nice black hoodie to get down in. But we got all kind of good stuff. Make sure you're checking out our website, BrundtlandCountry.com. Well, man, that's my time. It's time for me to get out of here. Thank you again for downloading our podcast. Thank you also for checking out the Bonus Eps podcast. Man, I was very pleased with the reception the Bonus Eps podcast got. And if you don't know what the Bonus Eps episode is, go check it out with the rest of the Brundtland Country podcast. We'll put the bonus eps out, like I said, at random times. I'll give you guys a heads up when they're getting ready to come out. But on those bonus eps, man, they're a little bit more edgier. And I talk about, just all kind of other stuff, man, besides hunting and fishing and outdoor stuff. Get into a little bit of sports, get into a couple of things, my personal experience. But, man, make sure you're just checking out anything that comes out from the Brundtland Media brand. We appreciate your support, and we'll see y'all back here for another episode of the Brundtland Country Podcast.
Thanks for listening to the Brundtland Country Podcast, hosted by AB3. Please leave us a positive review and 5-star rating on iTunes. Be sure to check out our podcast section on our website, BryantlandCountry.com, for previous podcasts. Check us out on Instagram at Official Brundtland and Twitter at 3Brundtland. This has been an AB3 Media production. Join us next time for another edition of the Brundtland Country Podcast.